Those of you who came from really far away. Eric Donovan, where are you? Eric came here from Raleigh, North Carolina, which, according to Google Maps, is 262 miles. But that's nothing at all compared to Sue Kavanaugh, who came here. Where are you, Sue? Sue, thank you. Sue came from Bend, Oregon, which... How many miles? That's 2,690 miles. Driving. Okay. Welcome to Linda's family, her mother, her father, and her sister, who I've been working with Linda for... Yeah, come on up and say hello. No, you just wave, just so everybody can see who you are. That's sweet. Okay, I've been to a lot of retirement parties over the years, of course, and I've never been to one where somebody didn't say, this is a bittersweet occasion. So, for the record, I'm going to say this is a bittersweet occasion. It's bitter because we're all going to be losing Linda. I've worked with Linda for 30 years, just about, and it's going to be very difficult to come to work with no Linda. But it's sweet because she's going to be able to do the things she's wanted to do for a long time. She's going to be able to travel without having to worry about what's happening back at the office. You'll worry anyway, won't you?
No. I think you all should worry about me, where I'm going.
And, as many of you know, Linda is going to be entering the theater art. She's going to, give this a second, Mickey. She's going to be part of the at the Reston Community Players, January 17th to February the 9th, restonplayers.org. And Linda has learned a lot since she's been working on this production. She now knows how to operate a jigsaw, am I correct?
Yep,
Okay,
yeah. And break props.
And there's still a possibility that she's going to be on stage if they need a stand-in for a dead body. Is that correct?
I've been practicing. Or Ken, she could dance too, right?
Yes, you've all seen Linda's dancing expertise.
I can any rights to edit this.
Now, you don't want to hear any more from me. Instead, we have several people who Linda has asked to speak on her behalf. Unfortunately, Hurley Johnson is very sick, I'm told, so he's not going to be here. But we're in luck. In his place, Mickey Atzad has agreed to, off the top of her head, say a few words.
Yes, I just found out a couple of minutes ago that Hurley was supposed to speak, so I haven't had a chance to do any prepared remarks, Linda. But for you, I don't need prepared remarks. We have worked together so long, and our staff greatly has appreciated all of what you've done over the years. Before my time, Walt Schultz is over there, and currently we have Bob Bechtel who's following up after me, certainly, and we all very much appreciate all you've done for the budget staff. I can't even tell you how important you've been through all the years. And we have all these memories from analysts in the past. Not all of them have been wonderful interactions, I have to say. And I won't go into some of those that I've heard about. But all in all, it has been wonderful. We've made up for the times that have not been so great. And we really, really, really have appreciated working with the people that come after you. We know that you've left it in good hands, and we truly appreciate that. So I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mickey. Our next speaker is Gretchen DaCosta. I think most of you know her. She's been with us for a long time. She and Linda also go way back. Gretchen was supposed to go first because it's her birthday.
I canceled my birthday and postponed it till tomorrow.
Oh, okay. But, Gretchen, please.
Okay.
Okay. We want
Hello, everybody. Just wanted to let you know first, I'm not an experienced public speaker, and I pretend to be. And so I've had to have some help with some Dutch courage over there. And I've strategically placed some folks in the audience to give me these sort of social cues that I don't have, like you're babbling, or stop talking, or you said something cringeworthy, or this one, you are in danger of losing your job. For those of you who don't know me and how I came to work with Linda Liner and PPE, anybody don't? Oh, there's Clarice. So in 1999, I landed a job in the Office of Litigation Support with Clarice Abramides. I first worked with DynCorp, and then they kind of pulled out of the contract, and CACI was kind enough to take me on. And so I worked there until about 2004, and it turns out that Linda was a nerd for her debt accounting office. Well, when Linda sent somebody with feelers to test me out, see how I would be receptive, and you know, my impression of Linda at first was she was a pretty tough cookie. But yeah. But, you know, I got to know Linda a little more on a personal level when, I believe it was when we went to Eric's mom's funeral many years ago. And we spent some good time chatting and getting to know each other. So I accepted the job, and Clarice was gracious enough to let me go. So that started August 2004, and needless to say, it was a rough start. It was like having to do a forensic examination of all the debt accounting records, and I had to figure out a lot by myself. And of course, knowing Linda as you do, you would not be surprised that she pushed me hard to get up to speed. And needless to say, it wasn't fun. But on the plus side, her boot camp was an invaluable experience since it really prepared our office for moving to a new DOJ-wide debt accounting system in 2007. And this required all my accumulated skill sets and then some. And with this, Linda was very, very supportive and involved with making the transition a success, and even putting up with me coming into her office and groaning and moaning over all the system problems we were having. Over the years, I've gotten to know Linda much more, and I guess some of you know that we share the fact that we're both single mothers, and we commiserate about the struggles we have in fulfilling the roles of both mother and father. And my kids call this being a mommy daddy. And we swap the occasional horrors. And one example I can give you about myself was when I could finally afford to rent a house and take my kids on a proper beach vacation. My son had to put a damper on the vacation by blowing up a toilet. It was with a powerful firework I told him not to touch. And I slipped out for a few minutes to go to the store. I don't know if even Linda can compete with that one. I've grown in absolute admiration of Linda. She's intelligent, wise, generous, kind, and naturally funny, and it's been a great experience working for her. So to further expound upon my experience with her, I'm going to share a list of 6 things that I will miss about working for Linda, as well as 4 things I will not miss to balance things out a bit. Yeah,
I'm getting a drink.
Okay. Okay, number 1 is her great mentoring skills. Linda was excellent at sharpening me as an employee. As some of you do know, I'm very detail-oriented and right down in the weeds type of person. And it reflected in my writing and communication style, which is kind of Linda's niche there. Somehow Linda stretched and pulled me, I emphasize stretched and pulled, so that I could see and express things at a much higher level, organize my ideas, and address the bottom line in the most succinct manner. She is an absolute masterful wordsmith. She's also really serious about developing her employees, encouraging them to attend training events almost to a fault. She's,
wait a second.
no, I have the floor. She's been willing to share her own experiences and work side by side with employees to navigate through the storms of which she's. Number 2 is joie de vivre, which is a good French word, French expression. Joie de vivre, Clarice knows. She is full of life and joy. She's both fun and funny, and very positive. Despite what type of workday she's having, she has an indomitable sense of humor and looks at the funny side of life whenever possible. Naturally comical and slightly, ever so slightly, eccentric. And okay, for those of you guys who know me, I acknowledge that it takes one eccentric person to know one. Examples are her eclectic wardrobe and accessories, including a purse made out of recycled tires. And her way of walking down the hall in such a way that everyone knows she's here. And I'll do a little imitation. Frankie! Where is everyone? Gretchen!
Nobody's here.
Nobody's here.
No.
And thirdly, the folks right here know the interesting topics she chooses on the rare occasions that OPBE staff get together for lunch. You will just have to recall, and I won't mention any of them. Now, the most recent example that I have as far as gathering her staff is that she gathered her staff to announce her retirement. And I don't know why I thought she'd be talking about transition duties and relative other things. Instead, she gathered us in a room and she presented us with several boxes, big boxes of stuff accumulated over time in her office that she decided to bequeath to her staff. Items that resemble see in your garage, or as you say in England, a jumble sale. So I think I brought with me a couple examples. I mean, come on, really?
Well, wait, somebody from my staff gave this to me. It says, for the big itch. Is that one or 2 words?
An assorted collection, it went right through me. Now, I will not, okay, let's make this clear, I will not address any other gifts that she's given, like the ones in prior holiday white elephant parties. She's also described some comical situations she attracts on her off hours, such as when she went on a silent meditation and had, of course, just had the luck of being partnered with a lady who chatted at her incessantly. And I'm not going to tell you how she finally got to sleep. She'll have to tell you. Apparently that lady didn't even get the memo. These and other encounters of her make me think we should go into business and pitch these kind of stories for a bridge sitcom. The third one is determination and courage through adversity. When I think of Linda's style and work ethic, I think of a powerhouse or a bulldozer, in the nicest possible way, though. She drills through things until they get accomplished. Like drilling for oil, she somehow finds money for the division to keep us going. And you can really apply that principle to how she deals in the manner of courage. She's had various illnesses, and with them she simply soldiered on and took care of what needed to be done and kept working through a lot of it. And I mean, if I were in the same shoes, I might have spent a lot of time wallowing in self-pity and dread. But Linda is tenacious and never gives up. She's a source of great inspiration. Another thing I'm going to miss is our nattering sessions. And for those of you who aren't familiar with British English, nattering means conversations. We've had the most interesting conversations on a myriad of topics that provide a welcome break in what otherwise might be a very ordinary and monotonous day. Details will not be disclosed. Now, fellow Anglophile, over the years, as sure as Bob's your uncle, Linda has put up with all my British expressions and idioms that I use because I spent some of my most formative years in London. And thankfully, she's partial to a proper tea and lively discussions on the happenings of British dramas such as Downton Abbey. In fact, last year I received a voicemail message at home from a very angry and distraught Linda, who bitterly complained that they killed off the lead character, Matthew Prada. Many complaints followed. Now, coincidentally, and this is absolutely true, no hyperbole here, today's London Evening Standard features an article, Downton's Dan Stevens is so sorry for dying. And it reads, I'll read you part of it. Stevens is based in Brooklyn, and the success of the program in the U.S. means that he gets little respite from fans. I spend a lot of time apologizing. I get a lot of, my wife was very upset by this, you have to apologize to her. It happens almost every day. And then I found at the bottom of the first page of the article, in fact, 50% of the complaints come from one woman named Linda Liner. This is page 2 of the London Evening Standard. Cue the music, please. Linda Liner was beside herself with rage, the article reads. She exclaimed, What a cop-out to kill off Matthew Crowley in the season finale. And for what? The actor to join some poxy little play in New York City that no one will even watch? I will find the actor and give him what for. And the title reads, We Are Not Amused, gripes Linda Liner. I was so surprised to see it, but you really got to Dan Stevens. And the last thing I'm going to miss, before we get on to the ones I won't miss, is the April Fools. April 1st will not be the same this year. I got Linda good a few times. One year I walked into her office, closed the door, and with a solemn look I said, Linda, I'm pregnant. Another year I said that JMD offered me the job as Director of Collection Management. The controlled look of shock on Linda's face was so rewarding. Of course, she did try to get me back with some lame and ridiculously predictive method of startling me, but most of the time she failed. Those attempts and just the fact that she was so intent upon revenge was a tenfold reward. Okay, now on to the things I won't miss. All right. I don't know if anyone else has experienced this. I would assume the staff has at one time or other, and see if this sounds familiar. When Linda is imparting to you something she needs you to do to thoroughly comprehend and act upon, she leans in and sternly stares at your eyes with this laser intensity like this. Repeats what she says, opens her eyes wide, and shakes her head up and down, which denotes she wants you to vocally acknowledge a yes. She will avert the gaze until you give in. In fact, you may not escape her office until you do so. Number 2, her medical emergencies. Now, some of you know I have a little bit of medical experience, but Linda always pushes the limit. As some of you know, she's subject to drops in glucose, and at the point where she's in trouble, she goes on a big candy or food hunt. It's usually because she was engrossed in something she was working on or trying to meet a deadline. Sometimes I have to help, but oftentimes I'm really no good. I don't have enough. So here's to send her something to send her on her way to help mitigate the situation. a bottle of disgusting glucose tablets.
I needed them on the way over here. The sangria seems to be doing fine.
Too late. So hopefully that will encourage you to eat regular small meals. Linda is also known to be slightly accident prone as well. Now, without going into details of some of her latest injuries, I will return her the item she bequeathed to me. And for those of you, some of you will really understand this. I will provide her with this medical worksheet entitled How to Treat an Impaled Object.
This, by the way, went viral on YouTube.
Now, nearing the end. Okay, her temperature issues. I've had to adapt in recent years to keeping my office above a chilly 68 degrees. But even so, Linda still whinged about being cold. Here's how she would come into my office. Lastly is the one I hate the most, which is, and it's probably going to surprise you, but it's the restriction on giving gifts. Many times when I'd offer to pay for lunch, I received the necessary lecture about the rules concerning the limits of spending on one's own boss. But now I'm happy to say, you, Linda, are, oh, lost my microphone. Hello? You are not my boss anymore.
You're not bossing me now?
Right. So pertaining to item number 3, your problem with cold, and number 4, the restriction on monetary amounts when giving gifts, I want to give you a parting gift, and it's my way of saying goodbye, boss, and hello, friend and neighbor. For those of you who don't know, she's moved in my area.
Yay.
Here you go.
Oh, wow.
I want that. I want that.
Oh, wow.
A proper Irish coat, because the Irish know how to keep you warm. So thank you, Linda.
Oh, this is beautiful.
Thank you for everything. And we shall meet for tea and scones at my house.
For a long, long time, and I now know twice. Is it on? Okay. Very good. I now know twice as much about Linda as I did before Gretchen spoke. Thank you very much. And now we have somebody you all know and love, somebody who's been with us for almost as long as Linda. And I think anybody who's ever traveled or ever had an invoice to pay or ever had a payroll problem or ever had any kind of a financial problem appreciates Frankie Free. Who's Frankie, I want you to be kind.
I will. I'm sorry, guys. I don't have the kind of occasion.
Frankie, my son.
A little louder.
Louder.
There you go.
Step up on the guillotine.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
If you see a laser pointer dot on you, move.
I really don't have
Frankie, the
that long.
You're close.
I don't have that long. I do have things I want to say to you. I know you a long time.
Louder, louder.
You're gonna have to bear with me on
Is
this.
this personal between you two?
Yes, this
We're
is
not
a-
allowed
Should
to
we not
hear?
listen? Should we all turn our backs?
There's a passage in the book of Proverbs that reads, "For she is more precious than rubies, and all the things that I can desire are not to be compared to her." The philosopher who wrote those words many years ago was referring to wisdom. Today, I'm going to evoke something called ebonic privilege. And I'm going to declare that that philosopher may have also had visions of you in mind when he penned that statement. Linda, the wisdom that you shared with us, your budget staff, will indubitably serve the Department of Justice and Civil Division for years to come. Linda, in many ways, your career in justice has mimicked the sunrise. Your career began in immigration. It was bright and beaming as the morning sunrise. I've done that too. Your career apex in civil divisions, it brought you tons of success, which compared favorably to the warming rays of a noon sun day. And finally, your career sunsets. You have earned, well, it's going away party. Then I conclude by saying that you always ask me to dance with you.
No.
And I want to conclude this by saying it's always hard to say goodbye.
I think Linda's going to need her chair back again. Well, thank you, Frankie. That's what I was going to do now.
You guys knew that you lost your love and
Thank you, Gretchen. Thank you, Frankie. Still here. Thank you, Frankie. You okay?
She wasn't gonna do this.
After watching It's a Wonderful Life for the 47th time over the holidays, I started thinking, what would the Civil Division be like if Linda had never been born? And I decided that it would have been a very dreary place with honky-tonk bars and but Linda was here, and she's made a huge difference in so many ways over the years. When she began as budget director in 1989, the Civil Division's budget was $84 million, which is just pocket change nowadays. Now our budget is $270 million. Had been greater than that until the S word came along, but frustration. But we really owe it to Linda. That kind of an increase doesn't happen by itself. It only happens because Linda is so clever, is really the word, so creative in everything that she does. We've together seen a long line of crises, of huge blockbuster emergency cases that came across the Civil Division over the years, starting with way back to asbestos and whoops. But we really, whoops was, what did it stand for? Washington Public Power Supply.
You remember. Right.
But some of the blockbuster cases that she's been involved with include things like A12, are you still here, Brian?
Oh, yeah.
I think that's been going on for 23 years. Took a lot of money in order for us to defend that properly, and we have Linda to thank for that. In 1980, Fidel Castro released a lot of people, like 125,000 people, mostly from jails and mental hospitals, and sent them to the United States. And all of a sudden, our Office of Immigration Litigation had a huge problem on its hand because it had to handle the litigation associated with those people. Linda, as always, jumped into action and came up with a plan for funding it, which included twisting the arm of, you all know who Associate Attorney General Tom Pirelli is. Linda personally twisted Tom's father's arm to come up with the money, and she did, and it worked. When Hurricane Katrina struck, and again, we had a huge amount of documents that had to be looked at in order to litigate that case. Linda somehow befriended the fiscal officials at the Army Corps of Engineers. Yes, that's how she did it. And she came up with the money. But one of my favorites involves the radiation exposure compensation program. Diana, are you still here? At the beginning, that program depended on annual funding from Congress in order to pay the victims. The victims of atomic testing during the 50s and the 60s. The only problem with needing congressional funding each year was that, as you can imagine, Congress wasn't always ready to do it. So Linda came up with a plan. Linda decided that we would change the law so that it was a mandatory program, so that Congress, it didn't require action by Congress, but that every year it would automatically come to us. Now, in order to make that happen, ordinarily one would work through the department's Office of Legislative Affairs. However, is there anybody here from there? They weren't very helpful. All they could do was tell them to stop. No, you're not allowed to call this person. You're not allowed to meet with that person. Whatever. Linda saw that the only way it was going to happen was if she ignored that, and she did. And guess what? The law was changed, and now the victims of radiation exposure get their payment on time without depending on congressional action. So that kind of
We're the budget police.
everything she did was, most of what she did was legal. Linda also enabled us to properly fund the foreign consul program. She got the law changed again to make that something that was automatically funded. When the first September 11th victim compensation program came along, Linda was there to come up with a creative approach so that we were able to pay the victims of that and pay the administration expenses. The tobacco litigation. There, Linda had quite a challenge on her hands, and she had to, this time, twist the arms of 3 different agencies. As I recall, it was Defense, HHS, and the Veterans Administration. She got them all to kick in money. Clarice was very helpful in most of that, but the two of them together made a team that you just couldn't resist if you were another agency and we were defending it. So, thank you for that, Linda. And if you had never been born, none of that would have happened, and we would have not had the resources to carry out our mission. So thank you for that. And even today, Linda has been very influential in getting funding for the financial crisis litigation, for AIG, for spent nuclear fuel, for you name it. If it's a big case, Linda was a key player in making it happen. So we're indebted to you for that. Linda is really widely respected throughout the department, as witnessed by the number of people who are here. And you're an institution, you're a legend, and not only that, you're a friend to everybody. You have a spirit that as was evident from Gretchen and from Frankie, you have a way of connecting with your staff and with other people in such a way that just makes everybody want to be with you and work with you. And that's been very helpful, especially me. I don't know what I'm going to do without you. A lot of people have asked me that. What are you going to do without Linda? And I don't know. Fortunately, we got Frankie, but there's a certain charm that Linda has alone that I'm going to miss desperately. So I told you that you could change your mind and unretire, but unfortunately, once you have the party, that's the last opportunity. There's no going back. So you've been a valued friend for 30 years, and just talking to you, whether we're talking about budget or life in general or whatever, has been very important to my day-to-day existence. Okay, we have some gifts for you that we thought you should see. So, in here? No peeking. First of all, this isn't a gift. Linda, I borrowed this from you about 25 years ago. I haven't finished it yet. That doesn't matter.
Measuring once we got to the Chesapeake Bay.
When you're sitting around the old folks' home and people want to know what you did with your career, you're going to get tired of telling them over and over again. So we have a solution to that. So could you step a little closer to me and turn around. A little bit, babe. And take off your glasses, please.
Oh, no.
All the way up. Okay. This is going to save having to explain to everybody what you did for a living. Turn around and show me.
Yeah!
That's great. That's great. Thank you.
Now we wanted to get you a book that would be helpful to you in your retirement. One that was geared to somebody with your background who had the same kind of hobbies that you had. So we went down to Barnes & Noble and looked all over for something that was just right. And we found The Budget Officer's Guide to Breaking into Theater for Dummies. So enjoy that.
I think either way, we will find her speech. She said I took it, but I didn't.
And finally, you've heard a lot of good things about Linda today, but there's a problem. The problem is that people are going to forget about Linda in, say, 25 years, 50 years, 75 years. Nobody's going to remember who Linda Liner was. But we have a plan to make sure that nobody ever forgets who Linda Liner is. It's going to involve a campaign, it's going to involve some legislation, but you're going to be the grassroots, you're going to help us out, and here's what we got for you to help. It just looks like a t-shirt, but
Oh, wow. That's a good one.
Who are those other people?
yes, Linda will be forever enshrined on Mount Rushmore if this sticks up.
Why not?
And we actually have one other little gift for you. This one comes in an envelope, and no, not cash.
And the winner is Oh, that's great. That's great. It's a gift certificate to the Kennedy Center.
Woo! Yeah!
Let
me tell her.
Thank you so much.
Does anybody else want to say anything? Don't have to.
We love you.
Steve Lozano was with us 23 years ago. We sent him on a detail to jail. He said he'd come back, and he's back.
As some of you saw, I'm on the video, and I was a ham man, and I'm a ham man, so I had to come up and sing. I've been to several retirement parties at CAO, and let me tell you, they're not as fun as these here. And that was part of the reason why I wanted to come up is I left Justice in 1990. I was working for you, Linda, in the budget formulation, and I had just become a federal employee. I was presidential management intern, and was very concerned about my career, so I wanted to just come up here and express my thanks for giving me a great launch to 26 years now in the federal service. And I learned a lot under you, and I wanted to express that appreciation. And to your credit, too, and this kind of is illustrated here today, is I kind of left in the lurch. Because, again, I was interested in my career and all, and I remember it was, just kind of, here's an opportunity, I'm going to go for it. And I kind of, right in the middle of budget season, if I remember, it wasn't all that good. But you still, to your credit, you gave me a great send-off. Yada, and I think there was alcohol there. I mean, even though I had left you in the lurch, you really, and again, thank you. I think that's a credit to how you treated all us new people. And I see some of them, and I encourage some of them to come up here with me, but who knows if they get the nerve. Like one of the previous speakers, she was always very instructive and really helped me kind of get my feet in the federal service. And I remember one time, it was one of the first times I had put together a document for you, and was very proud of myself. Being a PMI, obviously was smart. And she looked at me at the document, and she, leaned into me and says, I see you spend a lot of time on this. But Stephen, here in the civil division, we use spell check. So I've been at GAO and have yet to make a spelling error since. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. All is forgiven. Okay. I think you all know Clarice.
I was not really going to be speaking, but I did want to let Linda know how much she has meant to me personally, to the Office of Litigation Support. We have been the Twiddledee and Twiddledum of the Civil Division, and we played bad cop, good cop together. We would practice our presentations to see how we could get funding for the various cases. And yes, Linda did do this to me, look at me and say, this is not going to work. And we would have to redo entire presentations just because Linda wanted it differently. That was hard. And I used to scream about that. But I always knew that if she said it had to be redone, then it had to be redone, and that it would work better the way she wanted it presented. And I think we were a really great combination. We had great fights. Oh yeah, everybody remembers those. And people, I know that Ken would say, oh my God, are they still speaking to each other? What's going on, And people always would think that we meant that we were really fighting and we weren't friends, but we were always friends. It didn't matter how much we fought. We were like sisters, and we fought well, but we loved each other always. And I love you. And I am so happy that you're retiring because the best is yet to come. It's so much fun out there. And you won't have
Well, I hope to see you. You've
Oh,
got
yeah.
to teach me how to do this.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Boris, you're always encouraging people to retire.
Stop inviting your kids.
Oh, gospel.
Hey, Jim, how you doing?
Good to see
Oh my
you.
goodness.
I'm Jamie McNamara, and I worked for Linda between, what seems like a long time ago, 1991 and 1996. I started out in personnel management. I guess all told I worked in civil OMP for 10 years. And, I just wanted to echo what Stephen said, and Jason Krukoff was here, Sue Gander is here. There was a really big cohort of us in the early 90s who worked, one time or another, went through the budget office, especially the formulation branch. And I know that I speak for everyone in that group in saying that it was an incredibly formative experience, I think, for all of us as professionals. And we just learned so many things, most of them wonderful. Of course, I work at the SEC now, and I'm in a job similar to Ken's as sort of an exec officer. And I always tell people that, when I need you, and I learned that from Linda, who at one point when I was working for her, I think we were still in the Todd building, but chased me, and I heard the bathroom door open, and it was something to the effect of, "Jamie, are you in there?" So I always tell people, when you're in a crunch, you got to be available to your boss. So I really learned that from Linda. But more substantively, I remember when I started at the SEC, and I was a branch chief for administration. I was doing an operating budget request, and it was a travel budget. It wasn't particularly exciting or sophisticated, but it's kind of a nuts and bolts budgeting exercise for the spending plan. And I was working with the commission's budget director, and I just, I sort of picked up this stuff from the prior years, and I tried to make sense of it, and I started calling her and asking her all these questions, and I took everything down to the unit cost and built the thing back up. And I think her comment at the time was something like, "Nobody's ever done all that before." And I thought, well, when you grow up working for Linda Liner, you learn how to do things right, and that kind of training, I think, has served all of us. I still have a mental picture, although I don't always use the yellow legal pad. I think those of us who work for her can always picture that, sitting down with her at the table and working on, for example, a program increase, and just doing the math from top to bottom, working the pencil, erase, and then at the end, we'd get to the bottom, we'd figure out what the program increase. And then we would carry around the sheet for months as we wrote worked with the offices, wrote up the request, draft after draft, through department review, OMB, finally, hopefully, in the congressional. And to see it through, I still think of, the A, whatever it was, 11 or 12 that I worked on. And lit support, and at the time, this massive $18 million request. It got whittled down for lit support, but I remember vividly. So anyway, Linda, thank you very much. We still do bump it. I guess I won't be bumping into you in Falls Church anymore, but best of luck in Reston, and best of luck with everything. Thank you so much for all of us from that era in OMP, who I think learned a hell of a lot from you.
Thank you so
Jamie, if I could give a little plug, you're performing tonight at Jam and Java.
Jam and Java.
8 o'clock.
I sing in a group called the Tone Rangers. So we sing all
Oh, that's a good group.
I was unsolicited. I just have to read.
Ken is a fan. He is
This is really good, Linda.
Linda and I go back 27 years.
Yep.
And I'll try not to get too emotional, but among a lot of these parties lately, and what they talk about, one is they talk about a career as a journey, or they talk about the person who is retiring as some kind of mythology, god or goddess. So I'll just do both. I think she not only was on a journey like Odysseus to get back home from the Trojan War, but he also made sure that he had to make his sailing sure to get back home. So it was also something where it was a more personal aspect to it. And so maybe Odysseus would be the one I pick. Another reason for picking Odysseus is He was not only strong, he was not only very smart, and he was not only very creative, which we've heard a lot of that, but he was also very crafty. And you don't escape from the Cyclops and eaten by the Cyclops unless you come up with a resolution to a problem that nobody else is thinking of, that nobody else can do. And I've seen her do this again and again, and the Civil Division never gotten eaten by the Cyclops. So there's a lot of things that could be said. That's a very important thing to say. People have remarked, and I've seen it personally, that she taught a legion of analysts that have come in as if it was the first important real job that they ever had. And she turned all that earnestness into a leadership example from her that led to something I think very spectacular in the results that the division has seen. And I'm sure that we'll go forth from this place, and it will be that the analysts now will be able to find the data, use the data, and love the data. And that won't vanish from the division. We love you, Linda.
Okay, it'll be 37 seconds. 37 seconds for Pat Deland.
I know it's getting late, and I'm going to keep it to 37 seconds, but I haven't heard the line folks who've been the beneficiaries of this help all these years say it. It's very simple. She didn't always hear it, but we knew she carried us, she covered us, she protected us, and she funded us. Linda, thank you very much.
I think a lot of you were somewhat puzzled by the invitation to this event. And I think it might be a generation thing, but let me give you a little background. Sean, if you wouldn't mind. What you saw was an excerpt from apparently one of Linda's very favorite movies. This is Modern Times from 1936. We're not going to see the whole thing, don't we? Starring Charlie Chaplin. And it's a story about a factory worker who runs into trials and tribulations, meets a young woman, and they do it together. And it's very much like Linda. As you'll see, they're really down and out, but they don't give up hope. They just keep on trying. The song you're singing is a song they're singing is a song called "Smile," made famous when they added words by Nat King Cole, and remember who he is. And you'll see.
Is that you and Ken?
Just out of curiosity, how many people have ever heard of Charlie Chaplin? Never say die. We get along. And we get along too. We made it thanks to you. And soon you will see something familiar, because this was Linda's choice for an invitation. Smile. Off into the sunset, although it's gone, so it's not in the sunset. Thank you, Scott. One more piece of business, and then we'll turn the microphone over finally to the guest of honor. I want to thank everybody who helped put this together, starting with Sean and Doug and Mark, and Tim isn't here. Tim Labuti had put a great deal of effort into planning this event because he's a big fan of Linda's, but he's sick today. Caitlin and Jennifer and Ben and Rebecca Miller, and a special thanks to the person who designed these wonderful posters that you see around the room. They were a stroke of genius. Allison, thank you so much.
Beautiful. I don't know how you did that.
Okay. Okay, bye, thanks. And now, turn it over
Well, I've been to one or two events like this, but I have never had an experience like this. I thought it was going to be more like getting bat mitzvah or something. And I'm just overwhelmed by every single person who came, and I haven't had a chance to talk to everybody here, and maybe we'll get a chance to do that, but this is just beyond my wildest dreams to get this kind of affection. Really takes my breath away. So let me first thank everybody for coming and for coming great distances. And this speech was lost for like the last 45 minutes. And it's like...
And somebody found it.
No one like you to lose something.
So I usually want to speak extemporaneously, but I'm so scared that I'm going to leave something or someone out. So bear with me. Here it goes. Start out by saying how much things have changed. I've been here for over 30 years. And since joining the division, I've seen the government get sued for going to war, and I've seen the government get sued for closing army bases. I've seen us defend Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and I've seen us not defend the Defense of Marriage Act. After 9/11, we planned and implemented a compensation program, and we defended the government's right to detain enemy combatants. Following the 2008 financial crisis, we funded cases brought by AIG shareholders while filing suit against one of the nation's largest rating firms. I've seen the government sued for its alleged role in the destruction brought by hurricanes, and I've seen the government sue those responsible for man-made disasters. This has been one of the most interesting careers anyone could have. The blockbuster cases we've seen, I remember. There was Beechnut, who sold sugar water and called it apple juice. Goes way back. And Columbia HCA for cooking the books. We got Merck, Glaxo, and Johnson & Johnson for violating the False Claims Act. And there was that time when McDonnell Douglas actually sued us because they failed to produce a stealth fighter that wouldn't fly. And I don't know if there's anyone in the room here who remembers R.J. Reynolds and their gang, who denied any collusion in hiding the health effects of tobacco. Today, where's Gretchen? We are still reeling from the exhilaration of the billions of dollars that J.P. Morgan had to fork over for its contribution to the near failure of our financial sector. I am very, very, very proud to have been part of a team to protect the United States and its people.
Really?
Budgeting, especially those who did it, know that it involves a lot of drudgery, and if you were here over the last year, quite a bit of heartache too. And it also has had its high points. For me, I especially remember the incredible honor and the great time I had in helping to close out the last of the financial issues when we returned the Panama Canal to Panama. And also my role in preventing RICA from going broke. Those were real high points for me. And I feel very healthy. Healthy. I don't know. No, lucky. I've had three. Yeah, I feel healthy too. I've been very lucky. True, I could never process a single timesheet, not even my own. I could not code a travel authorization if my life depended on it. And I wouldn't know what to do if someone called up and they said they had 13 billions that they wanted to wire over to me. I'd be at a total loss. So I have to thank the incredible staff I have who have done those kind of activities that really made the civil division run. I also have to acknowledge, I think I counted 7 generations of budget formulation people. And these were energetic people who brought millions of dollars in for our attorneys and litigating branches so that we could handle our outrageously large cases. They researched data, they interviewed attorneys, they designed graphics. I don't know if all our graphics people are here still. And these were largely successful efforts. We were able to fund the civil division's work for 30 years. Many people stayed, thank goodness. And thank goodness. And some went on to leading nonprofits, teaching at universities. Others have leadership positions at the Congressional Budget Office and at Homeland Security. And others who earned law degrees and they're either working for other agencies or for the private bar. And there's even one who, after working for the private bar, came back to work for me. I'll never understand that. So I want to thank you and especially thank the people that traveled miles to come here today. I'm really moved and honored to have all of you here. I've been very lucky with the network of administrative and branch directors who were willing to share their knowledge and understand, so I could understand and articulate their needs to others. Busy as they are, the branch directors were always available to help put fires out. I've been particularly fortunate over the last several years to be working for a political leadership that takes budget issues very seriously and have advocated on our behalf. Now, considering that I was very green when I started here, I was extremely lucky to have people who kept me out of budget jail. Most important, whoop.
Slid it. Use the other up. Slide it up.
Battery died?
Still not. Blue.
We didn't budget for the extra electricity.
No batteries.
Okay.
You can do it.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay.
You in there, Frankie?
Okay, I was, yes. Keeping out of budget jail. If some of you have worked with me, have known me to be somewhat creative, and at least I learned to run my ideas by my staff, and they were ready, and actually I think I made them sweat and lose sleep a few times, but they were willing to say no when I came up with what I thought was some of my better ideas. No. And I want to thank Rodney in particular for also helping to keep me out of jail by making sure we don't spend more money than we have. Thank you for being willing to say no when that was appropriate. I have valued my collaborative relationship with JMD and the help that Mickey and Walt and Hurley. We might have started out a little antagonistic because that was kind of the way things were back then. And we just plowed through that and ended up with a very collaborative effort. And if it was for that, I can't tell you how many times JMD bailed us out of what would have been utterly impossible situations to deal with. So thank you. If I've been lucky with my staff and colleagues, I've been especially lucky with my boss. You might have to. You might need a hanky. Ken Zwick is the reason why I was able to adopt my son.
Come on, you can do it. Plow through it. Determination.
Ken Zwick was the reason I was able to keep working when I got ill. He's also the one, every time my BlackBerry died, taught me how to reboot the battery in my BlackBerry. But we also had many occasions, more than we wish to recount, of having to save the division from people trying to attack us and do away with us. And I guess that's just going to happen intermittently. And we're both there fighting, and here we still are. Ken and I have had an honest and respectful. Am I up again?
I want to hear this part.
Okay.
I don't know what it is. I'll work on it. Try again now. I should see if it works.
Hello? Hello.
Sorry.
We've had an honest and respectful and caring relationship for the better part.
I'll work on it though.
It's okay, it's okay. For the better part of my adulthood. Really. You're the only man that's stuck around. Finally, I'd like to express my gratitude. I don't know if she's still here, to Donna Cornett and there you are, Donna and Frankie, and I don't know if Jeff Turner is here, for helping me navigate through the voluntary leave program. And when my leave ran out, I had to rely on employee donations to keep getting a paycheck. And I'll just never, ever forget the generosity of the people of this division. I've sometimes compared my career with the careers of people that go from job to job, while I stayed here for over 30 years. But the kindness that I received from my boss and from all work here, I have no doubt that I made the right career decision for myself. And you may ask, is it possible to love an organization? You may also ask, is it possible to be loved back? And if you work for the Civil Division, the answer is yes. And thank you. Well, Frankie never danced. Thank you, thank you.
All right, Linda, we're not done yet. We know that you didn't really want a cake, but we got you one.
My goodness.
Wow. Many beaches on your retirement. We'll all definitely meet you there.
Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. Cake. A little bit of sangria left. Thanks for coming. You've got great stuff in the country. You've got the momentum going.